It's too late. Wake the hell up, America. This is the Republican Party. I'm a hardcore conservative, but I oppose Trump. I could never, ever get elected as a Republican again. This is what this party is. It's not going to change. It must be defeated. End of story. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Joe Walsh. And that was the former Republican congressman arguing that the GOP cannot be slowly weaned from Trump, but must be obliterated immediately. Walsh's emotions on MSNBC came in a discussion about how the GOP might be able to move on from Trump. Many lawmakers in both parties believe the criminal cases in 2024 will result in criminal convictions, and that Donald Trump will be forced by the justice system to go away, perhaps to prison. But the 91 felony charges and the efforts to kick Trump off the ballot in some states appear to have intensified Trump's MAGA support. And Walsh noted the sympathy for Trump could go beyond voters on the far right.
Donald Trump's the biggest victim in the history of the world. Now, his base, Charles, believes that, right? His base believes that. But I've heard from so many independents and voters who really don't like either party, who have told me over the course of the last couple months that this just seems like it's piling on. Come on, Joe. He's been indicted 4 times. You've got 4 different courts going after him. And now you've got states trying to keep him off the ballot. Come on, Joe. This is piling on. They don't want him to run. My fear, Charles, is that that message will resonate with voters beyond just his base. And the Democrats need to wake up to this, and they need to get their act together to defeat him.
In other words, the Democrats cannot sit back and wait on the courts, but should instead focus on Trump's policy positions and make the case that another Trump presidency would be an economic and social disaster. The idea is that Democrats should ignore the legal cases and instead make sure that Trumpism is defeated by voters at the ballot box. It's wise, in my view, for Democrats to keep the focus on Trump's policies. For example, thanks to Trump justices on the Supreme Court, abortion rights are now up to the states, and the restrictions in several states have outraged most voters and led to a string of Democratic victories and Republican defeats. So underscoring women's rights and how they've been taken away by Trump is a wise campaign strategy. However, it's hard to ignore the fact that Donald Trump inspired an insurrection, allegedly broke the law, and could be convicted for that and other matters, including the mishandling of our nation's most treasured national security secrets. The court cases will establish that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy and has made America less safe and more vulnerable to our enemies. That stuff matters, even if a large number of Republican voters don't care or see this as fake news or a deep state conspiracy. Joe Walsh believes the reality of the criminal justice system will eventually catch up with Trump, but that counting on Trump being kicked off of the ballot is a mistake. And Walsh points out that even some people close to Trump see the distinction between the ballot access cases and the criminal trials.
To say that Trump has immunity is to say that Trump is above the law, and that can't and won't stand, period, not in this country, and they know that. What they're hoping for, Charles, is a favorable ruling from the Supreme Court on the Colorado and Maine efforts to remove Trump from the ballot. But look, this is the beginning of what's going to be a year of utter legal chaos that sadly may play in Trump's benefit.
Trump might benefit from the legal chaos? Well, think of it this way. There is a limited amount of time that most consumers and most news organizations have each day. And any time that is being spent following Trump's legal cases or tracking his wins and losses in court is time that is not being used to dissect Trump's policies or examine Trump's plans for another term. And some of those Trump 2.0 administration plans are frightening. They include rounding up immigrants and putting them in internment camps, using the Justice Department to target political enemies, and filling the government with die-hard Trump supporters who will put his power above the law and above any constitutional restraints. The point is that there are plenty of ways to defeat Trump and end his MAGA movement without getting any help from the courts. So a little balance will be needed from Democrats and all of us who are eager to see Trump disappear. A Trump election defeat would be more powerful than a courtroom conviction. As a nation, we can have both, but the priority, as Walsh points out, should be to defeat Trump at the ballot box clearly and convincingly. Yes, Trump may not accept it again, but his lies about the election will not fly with most Americans yet again if he is indeed the election loser. By the way, a new issue has entered the political discourse around Donald Trump, and it involves his personal hygiene and his allegedly awful body odor.
So take like armpits, ketchup, like a butt, and kind of put it in a blender and makeup.
And that is former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger talking to Ben Meiselas on the Midas Touch Network and describing Donald Trump's bad odor.
And you bottle that as a cologne. That's kind of that. But it's amazing. Like I've been amazed that, everybody's just kind of like learning about this now.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.